This is the internet court of truth and lies. The purpose is if you've got something that you think is the truth in the media or you think it's a lie in the media, then you can make a case that is a truth or a lie to up to 8 jurors. There's a set of standard verdict questions, which are 8 verdict questions that are never, ever exactly the right questions. Their purpose is to help structure the dialogue around whether or not something is seen to be a truth or seen to be a lie. What happens in this activity is the plaintiff almost always learns something that they didn't think of when they were seeing this truth or this lie. The jurors see the same thing, except they really see what other people thought, see things that they didn't think of before. We know by the science of lies and deceit and truth that this is the only cure to deceit and lying, or the only cure to understanding how other people see the truth, which is dialogue between people. There's no other way to do it for people. That's what this whole thing is about. Our business model is sponsors, which is like advertisers, except the sponsors get to say what's in the trials that they sponsor. If they want to be in the trial as a plaintiff, for example, they can do that. They can always set the topic, and there are other requests that they might make that we would be happy to fulfill if they buy the sponsorship. The only option there is to buy 10 trials. That's because we know that some of those 10 trials are not going to go the way the sponsor wants them to go, but some of them really will. They're not perfect, and they can't be perfect. People are just not that way. So that's what we do. Today, for years, where I live, we've had a little group of chipmunks out back on the hillside, and we've grown to like the chipmunks. A lot of people hate chipmunks, and we grew sort of like them. And a couple of months ago, we noticed that the chipmunks were no longer there. A couple of 3 weeks ago, I was looking out the window, and I saw what appeared to be a very long chipmunk, or a very long squirrel that was very thin. Then I saw that same thing racing across the yard again a couple of times over the next 2 days because I was looking. It turns out it was a weasel. In Western Pennsylvania, they're called the common weasel. They're very common in my part of the country. I know that they're very uncommon in the West Coast to Southwest. They're also very common where I grew up in the Southeast. One of the things that weasels, they're carnivores, and one of the things that they eat are chipmunks. According to Wikipedia, they can eat up to 40% of their weight a day, chipmunks, which is exactly what we were seeing, which was the chipmunk population just rapidly collapsed. It was not the weather, because these have been around us for 10 or 15 years. I did a search of what a weasel looked like, and it was. This is exactly what I was seeing. I remembered the old statement when I was growing up that certain people were weasels. So I asked Grok to respond to the statement that Trump is a weasel. And Grok came in and did this. Now, from my point of view, I have no opinion of this other than I think he is a weasel. So I think it's true he's a weasel in the figurative sense. I knew a number of people that were weasels when I was growing up. Down in the South, we called them weasels. This is what Grok said.
Weasel is a straightforward metaphorical insult, literal versus figurative breakdown. Literal reading, nonsensical. Donald Trump is a human being, not a small carnivorous mammal from the Mustelidae family. The actual animal called a weasel. No one is claiming he has fur, a long body, or hunts rabbits. Figurative reading, the only one that makes sense. The speaker is using weasel as classic English slang for a sneaky, evasive, treacherous, or untrustworthy person. What?
So the statement he made that the only one that makes sense from a computational point of view of how your brain computes, that is a very big statement to make, because what he's saying is you have two meanings of weasel and they can't coexist on the same thing. Trump can't both be a weasel and not a weasel, or a weasel can characterize Trump or it can characterize something else, but these two things can't be the same thing. And the argument is that we've been making about what's called hierarchicalization. The brain hierarchicalizes predications. If you look at how you build a hierarchy, at any given level of the hierarchy, there's this thing and there's that thing, and they can't be the same thing. When you're building a hierarchy, has essentially one parent, and the next level down, the things that are listed as alternate things below the parent hierarchy node can't be the same thing. So it is literally saying that something can be this but can't be that. That's the basis for a hierarchy. In this case, the hierarchy that the brain forms in understanding weasel as either figurative or literal. So this is really critical. And you see this in this thing. Then he goes into this statement, which is interesting from the point of view of it. I was not trying to condemn Trump. I just said, Trump sounds like a weasel from my past. I don't think I'd used the word weasel in so many years. It's not funny. So this is what he said, and I really think
what weasel actually means in this context. In idiomatic English, calling someone a weasel implies they twist words, dodge responsibility, or shift positions to suit their own advantage. They're slippery in arguments. They weasel out of commitments or promises. They're cunning and self-serving rather than straightforward or honorable. They betray trust or allies when it benefits them. It's not primarily about being mean or stupid. It's specifically about character, a lack of integrity, a tendency to manipulate language or situations rather than confront them directly. Think of the related phrase weasel words, which means vague, misleading language designed to avoid clear accountability. Overall interpretation of the sentence. The speaker is not making a policy critique or a factual claim. They're making a character attack. Donald Trump is fundamentally deceitful and untrustworthy.
Oh, the only reason I would disagree with Grok on this, and this is odd, but this is because I'm a scientist, is agree that the characterization of Trump as a weasel figuratively is correct. He is that. He's exactly what the figurative meaning is. He does it all the time. But I don't regard this as an attack. I just regard it as a statement of fact. And Grok is saying it's an attack, and it's not a statement of fact, and I disagree with that. So that's my view. I don't know why Grok says what he says. This is a classic case of the AI not telling the truth from somebody else's perspective. And in this case, not telling the truth from my perspective, because I don't think I ever would have said that I was trying to attack Trump. I was just stating what I saw. And I really didn't say it except for I lost all my chipmunks. I remembered weasel. When I saw it, I said, this is a weasel. And I hadn't seen a weasel probably in 25 or 30 years. I was not trying to come up with things to say bad about Trump.
Concise way of saying he behaves like a political or personal opportunist who slithers around truth, loyalty, or consistency whenever it serves him. It's also a very common style of political rhetoric, short, visceral, and emotionally loaded. People on the opposite side of Trump have used it for years. People who support
So they say that people on the opposite side of Trump has used it for years. It turns out I don't think that's true. I think Brock knew of some instances, but I had never heard Trump described as a weasel before. And it'd be interesting to hear from the jurors whether they had ever heard of Trump being described as a weasel. This is who else called Trump a weasel? This is his answer. The answer is several people and outlets have used weasel as an insult to Donald Trump. Notice not a lot. He said several over the years, often implying he's sneaky, evasive, or untrustworthy. Then he goes notable examples, and he says New York Times columnist Charles Blow referred to Trump as the Weasel of Oz in 2018. So that's now 50 weasel comments in the last week. Okay, that's one in 2018. Portraying him as a deceptive figure hiding behind bluster, playing on the Wizard of Oz. He was, but then the other guy who called him a weasel was me. So your own Medium article, Robert Thibodeau, is titled "Trump is a Weasel," using the term metaphorically for someone deceitful and opportunist, which I was, or I was thinking I was, but I was not doing it otherwise. And then there are other commentators or critics have used it more casually, like protesters and social media users, events like No King's March. Now, I've never heard of any of these, but somebody may have. Chanting variations like weasel, cheat, scumbag directed at Trump. But that's not somebody calling Trump a weasel so much as they're calling him a lot of things. And one of them happened to be weasel. It appeared in broader political contexts, such as accusations of Trump trying to weasel his way out of accountability debates or legal issues. People have used the phrase weasel out of, which is not what I was thinking. Weasel out of is a meaning that's consistent with the figurative, but I was thinking of Trump as a weasel. The direct high-profile attributions of him being a weasel don't pop up prominently in searches, which is what I saw. It's more often used by columnists, activists, or in heated online discourse, which I've not encountered. So that's the sort of thing that I was curious about. But the main thing that I was trying to do in this article was this is a beautiful example of a word that has a figurative and a literal meaning that do not coexist. And that's one of the evidences for how the brain actually organizes information or propositions hierarchically is this can't coexist with this, but they're both the same as that. In linguistics, this is called marking. This is the technical area of linguistics. One thing that is amazing, but it holds true, is if you take the words in any language that any human being speaks, and you look at opposites, like black and white, good and bad, friend or foe, all these things, opposites, those words are characterized as being the most similar words. A synonym for a word is not as close to the meaning of the word in a natural language as its opposite, meaning the substitutability of the word in any sentence is easy with its opposite, but slightly more chancy with a synonym. Changes the meaning.
I think somebody has to tell Roger, I think.
Actually, no, it's in Roger. Actually, he has opposites, right?
Yes, so he does, yeah.
He lists the opposites. You can actually see it. That's the best place to see this, is you pick up an old Roger thesaurus, and you'll see the synonyms and the opposites, and you'll see it. You'll see that
it's a wonderful book.
It's a wonderful book to read. It's got a whole narrative to it.
Yeah.
But anyway, but the brain computes these things. One of the previous trials, I mentioned to somebody that the most interesting word in any language is not. This is not that. That's called making it an opposite. It's something you can do with any word, but you can always say it's not that. So you can make an opposite, which is the most minor change in meaning you can make from a linguistic point of view because of substitutability and so forth and so on. It's well recognized, and it's also the basis for forming hierarchies in your brain. It's the basis for how hierarchies are understood and so forth. We argue that consciousness comes out of making hierarchies. So there's only one decision that the whole body has to obey at any given is what you're consciously doing. Your whole body has to move all of these muscles and do all these other things and talk and say, because what consciousness is verifying that you did that you did the thing that you thought you were doing. But that has to come from somewhere. And the argument is that comes from your brain forming a hierarchy that has enough expansiveness to it that it can control everything you need to do to accomplish that thing that you're trying to accomplish with this one kind of major thought behind it, which is hierarchically organizing the brain. That's why we see the 90 million neurons going off when you see a simple sentence like Trump is Weasel. That's really what this was about. What I wanted to test was just who actually thought that Trump is a weasel. Now, some people have probably never heard of the expression. Some people may have had the same response I had, but I'm curious what people think about it. So we're going to go through I said almost exactly what I said. Is it the truth? I said, yes, I think it's the figurative truth. Where I grew up, we did call people weasels. And there were not a lot of them, but we knew some, and I knew some. I believe I absolutely knew some. And we would agree this guy was a weasel. Is it the whole truth? I said yes with a confidence of 90. When I read the sort of definition of weasel as a figurative, boy, it matched Trump. I had not come up with a word I hadn't seen a word that was a better match for what he is. So I said, yes. Is it nothing but the truth? I said, no. I said, like any figurative insult, this figurative view of Trump is an incomplete description of the whole person. Even though I didn't think of it as an insult. I just thought of it as a description, but it's an incomplete description. So it invites a lot of conversation and so forth and so on. But it is a great example of why we believe that the brain is doing so much computation, even with simple sentences. What's the deceit? I said that there's no deceit. I think it's just obvious. By the way, Grok is owned by Elon Musk, who is not exactly an enemy of Trump. So here's Grok saying it.
But are you suggesting that Elon Musk reviews every single entry in Grok?
By the way, a few years ago, I was 100% sure that after Elon bought X, I know for sure he reviewed some of the things I wrote.
Oh yeah, you wrote, yeah, but you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just.
Because I would watch the 3-day pause before they published it, but they could tweak Grok. It would be a trivial tweak to Grok to never admit that Trump is a weasel is true.
X won't allow you to post stuff that is denigrating to individuals. They just won't let it. Yeah.
Yeah, except they let this one.
Yeah, that's why. They probably didn't know what a weasel was.
So this is an interesting situation.
Yeah.
I suspect they did, and then if it did go to somebody, they already have me marked for death or something. And so they're letting me get away with it. Or they realize that I actually am a scientist and leave him alone until he dies or something.
Yeah, I just want to respond to Brian's thing in chat. X won't allow you to specify. You won't allow you to call. You can imply stuff about people, but you can't give them an out-and-out insult, as I understand it.
No, that's absolutely false.
Oh, okay.
That's
I've
interesting.
had posts refused. They won't boost because they've been denigrating of individuals. That's the excuse they've given me, that they
The
won't
question is who's
boost
the
my post.
individual being denigrating and whether or not it'll boost algorithm and ad revenue. I've seen
Uh,
plenty of denigrating posts for people that boost the algorithm. It's just the
no.
right individual.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
I think that's right. Yeah, there's Isaacson's book on Elon Musk. If you haven't read it, is a great read. Kind of halfway through the book, through the biography of Musk, he begins to understand who he's actually working with, and Isaacson gets nervous because he realizes that Musk is this other guy that he was thinking of Musk as a Howard Hughes or a whatever. And he realized Musk, this book was around the time that Musk took over Twitter. And so he was watching Musk get his fingers into who was get boosted and who would not get boosted. Musk was denying that he was doing it, yet Isaacson was observing him do it, which made him very nervous. If you read his book, you'll see he's trying to handle that because here he had this guy that was just this unbelievable person. All of a sudden, he saw this dark side, which was an interesting thing. Now, that's not me calling Musk a bad guy. I'm neutral on these kinds of things.
Yeah, I believe you. Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever. Is the truth intended? I just said, yeah, I'm a weasel. What's the motivation behind the truth or the lie? I was just trying to describe how the perceptron theory of brain computation says your brain process the metaphor both as a title, sentence, and a picture. Okay, so I didn't go into the details of how the picture was interpreted, but I do want to say this about the picture. That is not the second try. That was me asking Grok to imagine Trump as a weasel sitting at the whatever the desk is in the Oval Office wearing a gold crown. And that picture happened. I didn't do anything. I didn't go back and say, make this better or that better or anything like this. I did say common weasel because by then I knew that what I had seen was there's about 15 or 20 different species of weasels, but this is the common weasel, which is the dead ringer for what I was seeing. So I did use the word common weasel to make sure it didn't get the wrong weasel. But oh my God, he even has Trump smiling a little bit. He put some blonde hair on him and so forth and so on. So I was surprised that Grok was so willing. So what's the social acceptability of the lie? I said it's completely acceptable. It's a near perfect way to illustrate hierarchicalization by oppositions in your brain. What I really like about this is one of the neatest demonstrations of how the brain can think in oppositions of things and what that implies in terms of the brain constantly forming these millions and millions of hierarchicalizations dynamically in order to understand simple things or whatever's happening today. What label would improve the social acceptability of the truth or lie? I think that's the label. That's what I said. So I'll go through the jurors and very summarized and or whatever you want to say in 20 to 30 seconds. Juror one.
I'm numero uno today. This is what I say. The statement is used as a metaphorical characterization to express an opinion on political behavior, consistent with the tone in your Medium article, your YouTube video. I agreed as far as that goes. I still think it's an attack.
Yeah. I mean, had I not lost all those chipmunks, now I know they make holes. I know,
Yeah,
but that
do make
hillside of
holes.
mine, that's aerating the trees. Just to be clear,
I wish they'd take closer to the trees. I've got several chipmunk holes in my front yard. I do think they're cute.
I think they're cute. They eat peanuts. God. Juror two.
That's me. So I pulled up a short form summary of it, and it says the statement Trump is a weasel is a figurative truth, a psychological reality that the brain computes by mapping specific character traits onto a visual image by using Grok Imagine to create a literal picture of Trump.
Yeah. Wonder what Trump would think of that picture. I don't want to know. Juror 4?
Where a metaphor becomes a felt reality.
You're three, huh? Three. All right. Look, I really liked the treatment in this article of the linguistics
Hello?
and the background. I thought it was great. I thought it was a fantastic way of explaining exactly how the brain responds, both linguistically and visually, to stimuli and forms a concept.
Yeah.
That being so, I only have one question, and that is: would you address the concept of a double entendre, where you literally hold two concepts regarding one input?
Yeah. We believe is that your brain is holding all of these possibilities. It's actually recognizing all the possibilities, and it's picking one for the quote communication, for the sense that the sentence made to them. Okay. But it's holding the other possibilities. The brain is a massive parallel computation engine. And so the double entendre is not double, it's many entendres. Yeah. And it's picking one that it thought was the most correct one for whatever it's got to do next.
Yeah.
So I actually entertained not writing this article in the first place. What drove me to it, Brian, was that beautiful picture that Brock did.
Oh, the Weasel picture was fantastic. That was great.
I just couldn't believe it. Yeah, it's just like, okay.
Yep, it was on point.
So, and then I said, this makes such a good case for the parallel processing that goes on in the brain.
Yeah.
And you can tweak it. You can actually see the narratives being created when you say things like, look at his claws.
Yeah.
Or the weasel kill more chipmunks than they can eat, and they bury the rest of them. And so that last sentence of the thing I say, something to the effect of, is somebody researching what Trump is doing next to the White House. Okay. So
it's terrible. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So it's a crazy thing. But that's this enhancement type stuff the brain is doing all the time. Juror 4?
Yeah, Juror 4. Can I share my screen?
Yeah,
Robert, I'd like to go through my verdicts for a change.
Okay,
I'll be quick. Can you see mine?
Yes.
Okay, so is it the truth? Yeah, I said yes, it's the truth, but on one level. But at a deeper level, it is literally true. Is it the whole truth? Yeah, I said yes, it's the whole truth, and it's beyond metaphor. Metaphors are a weak version of what we're really talking about here, which is, I believe, that weasels steal eggs and are crafty thieves. So I think Trump has the soul of a weasel. So he is literally a weasel, not just figuratively.
That's what was saying.
He really is a weasel.
Yeah, to me, that was the truth. Yeah.
Yeah, and so what is the deceit? There's no deceit. I believe weasel, as understood in modern English, is a truthful metaphor for Trump. That's yours, not mine. I was going to say, yeah, there is no deceit. But let's keep Grok out of it. Let's be human about this. Mimesis is the key to understanding, bringing into reality a complex of ideas and sensations and histories, everything. Grok is not mimetic in the way that human beings are. And I get slightly irritated, Robert, with the way you're always using Grok. I think we should support the human evaluations and conceptions more than just using Grok. Is it the deceit intended? Yes, it was intended. What's the motivation behind the truth or lie? I think I'm not sure what the motivation is here, because on the one hand, you're introducing predicates, and then you're saying the images are also key to the understanding. And I think that is, I think human beings do use images.
I think images, they're just neural computations, and all neural computations are predicates.
Now you're weaseling out of it by saying that. Yes, you are.
I'm a computer vision guy.
The other guy, predication is a linguistic concept and a neuronal pattern. Images are completely different.
No, I disagree.
Anyway, okay. Anyway, I'm saying it's acceptable. It's not just a metaphor. It's a perfect truth. Trump is a weasel. And Trump in the Weasel House, WH, the Weasel House.
Yeah. Actually, that's the one thing I disagreed with Grok was he was thinking that this was not actually thinking of Trump as a real weasel. He was saying it's an attack, and I'm saying,
Yeah.
no, he's a weasel. So I'm going to go back to my share, see if this works. Are we on juror 5?
Yes. So for me, in this case, when I actually read the accusation, I was quite confused because first of all, I've never seen a weasel, weird as it could be. So it was very hard for me to create an image of Trump being a weasel, but I could tell that obviously this is not intended in a literal sense or in a sense of whether it's a good or bad thing. After I had read the article, then I could tell that, oh, okay, this is basically explaining the process that my brain had went through when it came to reading that statement. But what I had found interesting is that because I did not know what a weasel looked like, it was like very difficult for me to create an image of Trump being a literal weasel. It made me also realize that if I could say a certain Caucasian man is red, I could probably form up an image of how he would look being red, and it wouldn't be an image of being literally red, but maybe red cheeks, and he is still red then in that case. Then also, yeah, I think so. I do agree with the part of
when you read
not part the
Trump as
article.
when you read Trump as a weasel, what did you think? Since you've never really seen him.
My brain kind of short circuited and it was like,
Yeah.
okay, blank. And so I had to literally now go to the article to try and understand. But I already could tell that, okay, this is not in a literal sense, but I could not really form up an image of Trump being a weasel. But if you could say something else, or a certain person is a snake, I could imagine how they would look as a snake, but I would also know it is a metaphoric sense of that, oh, they are very weird or backstabbing or whatsoever traits that we probably align with snakes.
We're back. We can see your browser now. Just the browser.
Yeah.
I think that gets you back where you want it to be.
I believe that what you're seeing is correct. Okay, let's go for juror 6.
Hi, everyone. So I just want to start by saying that I love the picture so much. I thought it was so funny. And yeah, it's definitely what I thought about when I saw the statement. But yes, let me just continue. I said that I believe that this interpretation of Trump is spot on. I definitely think he's deceitful and not trustworthy when it comes to the weasel and so forth. But yeah, I also think whether people think it's fair depends on their political views. But I personally think that it's very fair. Anyways, yeah, that's basically what from my side. I also agree with Juror 4 as well a lot on what he said. But yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Juror
Juror 7.
7. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I also agree with you what you're saying. And when I thought about it, when I saw the case Trump as a weasel, I haven't heard it really much going on in media about him, like you said before, being called a weasel. More often calling him a rat. So what I thought about it was like, hey, the case is about Trump being a weasel. And I thought to myself, isn't that just a nice way of saying he's a bougie rat in that sense? So I do think that what you said, the metaphor is on spot on. I really like that one because I haven't heard that in a while. Like maybe in 2016 I heard about it or something, but not now. So I didn't really enjoy the case. I really did enjoy it. It was a very different type of case, but I really did enjoy this one. It really gave me a laugh. This one.
Juror 8.
I hope everyone can hear me very well. I related to Juror 5. When I first saw the image, I was a bit confused because I'm from South Africa. From the region I stay in, I've never really seen one they're not really popular, I might say. The weasels are not really popular. So I had to go and check. And if we could speak about it metaphorically, it makes sense for Trump, his personality, politically wise. He's very untrustworthy and he hardly takes accountability. He's very untrustworthy because if you see how he always distances himself from people that are actually facing legal crisis, even with when he lost the elections back in 2020, I think it was in 2020, he didn't really take accountability. He was just like, I don't know what he said was stolen. I don't remember correctly, but he said that he couldn't say that he lost. He couldn't take his loss. And also how he just contradicts his statements as well. So I felt like there is a combination. They have similarities. Overall, I actually agreed with you. He has similarities that shows that he is untrustworthy and he's very slippery.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's essentially it.